Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Latrice, and I'm going to go ahead and react to a clip that is from the Whatever podcast that is hosted by Brian Atlas. Okay, so in this episode of Dating Talk number 225 in the show, the Whatever podcast, it shows about basically these feminists criticizing absent fathers from, during the debate. So let's go ahead and dive right into it, okay? So we're going to go ahead and see what they had to say about it.
Kind of linger on the conversation too long. What do you think about deadbeat dads?
Kill them.
Hold on. One.
Oh my God. Okay. I see. So it's okay that women could say that about the men. But if men said that about, women getting abortions and not taking on the responsibility of having a child, then, that's all kinds of sexist, it's chauvinistic, it's evil, whatever words they want to spew from their mouth. So it's okay for women to say that, and it's completely fine. They don't get canceled out or anything like that, but it's okay. It's not okay for men to do it. Totally got it. Unalive them, right? Dear God.
And the time, starting with you. Go ahead.
Like in general, what their effect is?
Yeah, so basically a deadbeat dad would be a guy who doesn't want to be involved in the child's life, doesn't want to financially support the child. Your thoughts? Is this wrong?
Well, of course, yeah. I think it takes two functional parents in the most ideal sense to raise a family. And I think.
And she is correct about that. That I will agree with, because it is important for the nuclear family. That's literally the backbone of our society. I don't understand why that's not being talked about enough. But having a two-parent household has always have better health outcomes for children, have higher academic achievements, and it also lowered the rates of behavioral problems than a single parent household. However, if we wanted to talk about the differences between single mom and single dad households, there has been significantly a lot more beneficial for children in single dad households, because it's not only just for behavioral problems, but also because from an economic standpoint, economically it has benefit more, and they're always in most cases, they're less likely to deal with poverty. But let's continue.
I think that happens more often than deadbeat moms. Men walk out on families a lot more often than women do. And I do think that as much as women without healthy father figures like to think that that's not a big issue, I think it is. And I think it affects your relationship.
You said men walk out more on their families. Women initiate 80% of divorces, and they destroy their families. So, I'm a little confused by where you came to this, men.
Do you hear a lot of people talking about mommy issues as opposed to people talking about daddy issues?
Okay, so here's the part where do you notice that there was just no accountability right there? She did not want to accept the fact that that is an actual fact. In America, us women have initiated 75 to 80% of divorces. And yes, I'm going to openly admit that I was one of them. I am a divorcee, but at the same time, I'm also a married woman now. This is my second marriage, and there's no out in this. There's no option of divorce. We have to stick this through till the end. That was the agreement. Now, as far as the reason men for walking out is the same reason for women, terminating the pregnancy, like I said before earlier, they don't want to take the responsibility, so they want to have the option to opt out on it, right? But it's funny that they look at men like they're walking out, but a lot of the times men are very transparent, and they make it very clear on what it is that they do desire and what they want and don't want. And if they're dealing with something that they don't want, you cannot blame them for feeling that way. Now, as far as divorces, it's really unfortunate that women do initiate divorces, and for the dumbest freaking reason. Oh, because I'm not happy. A lot of the times it's not always because of DV or because of other, other worst case scenarios of why a woman would have to, end her relationship and or divorce. But it's a lot of the times us women have been told that we should prioritize our happiness over our duties, when we were all put on this earth for one thing, and that's to procreate. Let's just state the simple facts. But because we're now being conditioned to believe that we have a much better purpose than that and all of that, then, let's just only focus on our happiness, then so be it. But this is what's happening, and why women are divorcing is because they would rather prioritize their happiness and not understand that when it comes down to your duties, sacrifices do have to be made.
Issues is a lot bigger of an issue that people talk about.
Yeah, but if the woman initiates the divorce and prevents an otherwise willing father access to their children, then this would indicate this wouldn't be the fault of the father necessarily.
In that one instance, I think in a lot of instances it is the man. Just because a woman initiates the divorce doesn't mean that the woman is initiating the conflict.
Well, I'd be prepared to go ahead and grant that most divorces, the reason is for it is just, I'm just not happy. Irreconcilable.
And there you have it. That's exactly what I just said. So that is what I talked about. Prioritizing happiness over duty. That is what they want. Oh, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the way my husband is breathing, eating, sleeping, shitting, however you want to name it. I'm not happy with the way my life is because I need a much better purpose than to raise children and be in charge of my household while the husband is the provider and the protector. And what do you guys want? We've been conditioned so heavily to live in a world of materialism and to pay more attention to social media of things that are not real life. I just don't get it.
Differences.
Yeah, on both
financial
ends.
issues.
And
Yeah. But for women, it's just like, I'm just vaguely unhappy. There's no abuse. There's no no abuse. There's no anything bad happening. He's not hitting the woman. She's just want new dick.
I think there's no reported abuse, and also I think you're not taking into consideration
you can't
premarital pregnancies.
Yeah, when there's not reported abuse, I can just make the same claim. Well, 100% of men.
He is right about that. 1 in 3 women, which makes it 35.6% of reported abuse, is an actual fact. Now, for men in their cases, it's at 28.5. So that's about 1 in 4 men that are reported. However, the difference is that men are very less likely to report these problems, to report any sort of domestic violence that they're dealing with in the household, in the relationship, in the family, regardless. And that's not talked about enough, but, to everybody else, why do they care? Why do they care of what's going on, in the world of men? Because men are sexist, men are chauvinistic, men are toxic masculinity, all this bullspit that they keep saying, they keep spewing, but don't understand that women can be equally as messed up as how men are to women. But that, again, it's never talked about enough. Now, like I said, men are less likely to report any sort of domestic violence that they suffer with is because, dissatisfaction of the police. It's because no one believes them. It's because they deem them as weak and fragile little people, and they get made fun of and get ridiculed for it. So at that point, men just keep to themselves, and then women wonder why men don't want to speak up.
Or abused, but it's not reported. So we can't do any sort of analysis.
Men are
on
much less
unreported
likely to report it as well.
My point exactly.
And yes, Jake raises an excellent argument. In the event of actual abuse, men are more likely than women to not report it.
I agree.
Are you taking into consideration premarital pregnancies, though? Because I think in that situation, it's definitely men walking out more.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Do you think that there's more men walking out or more women having abortions?
Now it's
I don't
more
know.
men
I
walking.
think
a
that
good
it would
question.
definitely be because you get about 1 million a year in America. I don't think there's 1 million men a year walking out on pregnancies.
Yeah, but if we would have that rate would be a lot different if we weren't having abortions. So
I think that if the nuclear family was intact and we had any morals in our society, then there definitely would
Very
be
true.
less of that.
I was gonna
Yeah.
exactly say that I think that the nuclear family doesn't really exist in as much as it did before, and so the family structure is very different, and most households aren't a 2-parent healthy household to begin with.
Yeah.
That's because nowadays people get into relationships and in marriages for the wrong reason, and unfortunately, those are the end results.
Your thought on deadbeat dad?
They suck.
They suck.
Yeah.
Is there more? Or?
No, that's fine. That's it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's whack to do that.
Whack.
Ruining society.
Ruining society.
I don't know. I think there's probably more to the situation of the reason why they're maybe out of their kids' lives.
Sure.
I was totally kidding about kill them. I think you can still make a beautiful child with a deadbeat dad, and for them to be not involved at all. But I do think there needs to be more precautions and laws around child support, because I think it's so.
Girl, what are you on? What are you on? Like, the way her voice is dragging, the way she seems so soulless, and it like she's just not there.
So easy to get away with not paying it.
No, it's not.
My niece's dad didn't pay the first 10 years.
I'm 23 and my dad has never paid a dime. So
You got
So-
2 people.
How do y'all know that though?
You guys can say that, but there's a robust legal system, and then it can also be done civilly too. So they can go to the court, or they can go to there's a specific government agency. It's evading me exactly, but it's like child services or something. So you can either go to them, or you can go to court.
But that isn't immediate. You have to go through so much in the court system to
No,
even
you
get
don't.
to that point. Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
There's 2, 4, 7 of us at this
How many
table,
here?
and there's
Who has
3.
kids? Who here has attempted to get child support from
Or
anybody?
we were the children that needed to be supported. There's
Just because you were young, your argument, just because during the time you were young and your parents were involved in some adult stuff that, you guys had no business knowing about, does not mean or matter unless you are actually going through it as a parent. Now, what I will say that I agree with both this woman and what Brian had to say. If you are married, yes, you would have to actually go through court stipulations during the court of your divorce. If there's going to be alimony involved, child support, split in half or split in percentages, whatever, and stuff that you get to have that you don't get to have, child custody, all of those things are done by the courts. So she is right about that part right there. However, if you are not married, which, let's be real, a lot of the times, when it comes down to it, it's usually through couples that are having children out of wedlock. There's not much you have to do, especially if you live in California. Brian's in Santa Barbara, so he kind of knows a little bit of what's going on with that. I'm almost certain he does. If not, then he doesn't. My thing is that when it comes down to it, if you are not married, all it takes for a single mother is to go to the welfare office, apply for government assistance of some kind. We're talking cash aid, food stamps, housing, whatever that she needs, with a child present. Automatically that opens up a child support case, especially if she has the father's information. If she knows where he's working, if she knows what's going on, they garnish his wages, they take away whatever and stuff. If he doesn't pay, guess what? He his right to traveling, or not even right, because that's not a right, that's a privilege. His privilege to traveling is denied. You are unable to drive without, you're not able to have a driver's license. There are some things when it comes down to certain things that could affect your credit and whatnot, even for your taxes, all this kind of stuff. It reflects solely on those things for the man. So if he just walks out and he doesn't want to do any of that, take on that responsibility, it's still going to come back to him, let alone jail time. jail time if he has too many arrears. So those are things to consider. And yes, it is that easy. All it takes, like I said, is for a single mom to just go ahead and apply for welfare, and a child support case opens for, against the father.
3 out of 7. That's half of your table.
That needed child support.
That didn't get
it.
Yeah.
Did
That's
your
exactly
parents?
what we're saying.
Yeah, my mom went through the court system. It
Yeah.
took her about like 3 years, and it was for me and my twin sister.
Okay.
My
And
parents
so
divorced
what
36 times.
what tell us exactly what happened in the court system?
I know when it happened, I was really young, but like I think that's like the whole application, and then they have to find out where they live or some stuff like that, and they have to get their current address. Especially, it's a lot harder when the person that left, woman or dad, whatever.
How would you know any of that was going on if you were little? That's grown folks' business. Get your nosy ass away from all that.
It's also harder when they live in a different state and getting a hold of them and such and all that. So like
Or if they don't have a job
that's how my dad got away with it, because he moved around a lot.
Okay,
to stay
what was
away
your?
from it.
What
It was a
your
similar circumstance. He moved to New Mexico, and they weren't able to track him down until a year ago when he moved back to Arizona and got a job that he was paying taxes on. So they started taking it out of the paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was the garnishing of wages. So that makes a lot more sense of what she said, that yes, in some cases when it comes down to it, yes, the mother, when the mother does file a child support case against a man, and if they see that they obviously cannot track where he's working based on his social security, based on his identification of some kind, then yeah, they're not going to be able to get anything out of that. They're not going to be able to get anything. However, once they find out, they garnish the hell out of those wages. And that's the truth. But the crazy part about the court system is that it doesn't always apply on the mother when she decides she doesn't want to take on the responsibility of raising a child, and she leaves it to the father. In a lot of cases, I've seen that fathers have tried getting child support from a woman, and it hardly happens. They're on their own with it. But then again, this is exactly what I talk about, why single father households have thrived and done better than a single mother household, because they're just not going to sit on their asses and wait for a check. They're going to figure something out. And if it means they got to do it by themselves, they will.
A job that's not like easily traceable is harder to find. My dad, the same thing.
Yeah,
My parents
so 10
had like a
years got away with it.
32 court appearance custody battle over me, so that takes years.
So he
there
wanted custody?
was an ongoing custody.
He wanted to
dispute.
get custody.
He did. He wanted partial custody, but he didn't.
And your mum
he
wanted
didn't.
him to have no custody?
No, my mom wanted to give him partial custody, but she wanted him to have evidence of like a stable job or like a stable living situation.
Otherwise,
so
he would have no custody?
Or she didn't want him to have no custody. She wanted him to have like monitored visitation so that I wasn't in a situation that was unsafe.
Was he an unsafe man?
Wait, who was the breadwinner?
My mom.
Who earned more?
My mom.
So in what scenario, if custody was going to be split, would the person who's earning less money pay child support to the parent who's making more money? Did your mom pay child support to him so that he could
never with him.
Hold on.
Okay.
You weren't with him because she wanted to withhold custody because he wasn't financially capable, even though she was the breadwinner, and she could have been paying him child support, so that in the same way that a lot of women face this scenario where they don't have financial resources and they seek the man to bolster their own resources so that they can raise the child, your mother ought to have been paying child support to your father so that he did have that safe home and have the resources to raise you. As the breadwinner, that would have been justified.
Not with an unsafe man.
That's not
Absolutely
how-
not.
Well, now you're at.
Okay, well, while she was adding more to that story, realistically, it is true. The way that it works in some states, I'm going to say some that I know the state I'm in is Nevada. So that's one of them. California, maybe Florida, I believe, that in most cases, if one parent has the highest income versus the other, then they are more inclined to pay child support. And depending on custody, if it's split down the middle of 50-50, in those 3 states I just named, they still would have to pay child support. But it would have to be a reduced amount or depending on the income itself. It doesn't matter. It honestly doesn't matter, and that's what's messed up. But in most states, yes, if one parent is making the most, and they have to pay child support, and it depends on the custody, the amount of time that each parent spends with their child. So it's a yes or no situation, but in her case, she was dealing with a violent father.
Adding another layer to it.
No, but that's
But I
not
said
how
that to
it-
begin with.
Okay, so he was physically abusive.
Right.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's
So
goes
what
beyond.
she had wanted was not no visit or no custody. She just wanted him to have a safe area because he didn't have a home that was stable, and she didn't want me to be in an unsafe area.
Why do I feel like mom knew that this man was violent and all of that and just still followed through with it? This is why we have to be very careful who we choose, ladies. Like, you don't do that. I bet you he was violent beforehand, because I feel like there's way more to the story than what she's giving.
He lived in a different state once they got divorced, and so she wasn't going to just send me at 4 years old to a different state to go visit him with no parameters to make it a safe situation for her child.
How long were they married for?
Before me, or like in general?
Yeah, before you.
2 years before me, and then a year or 2 years. I was 2 when the divorce finalized. They separated when I was 1.5.
When did the physical violence start?
Immediately.
When
Like I was
in the
a year and a
beginning of
half. 2.
It started after you were born?
With me. The physical violence with me.
Do you remember any of this?
Yes, of course. I mean,
When you were 1 or 2 years old?
no, I remembered the court situation and all of the custody things because that happened
Wait,
for
you
years.
remember the court situation or the violence?
No, the court situation.
You said you remembered the violence.
Girl, you're so inconsistent. Get your facts in straight and in a row, because it seems like you're not making sense.
Okay, then I misspoke. I said the court situation. They went through a very long custody battle after they filed for divorce to get custody of me. My mom wanted to have me in a safe area so that I still had a relationship with my dad, but that I wasn't unsafe.
And so what was she
I think
asserting?
it's the bare minimum.
What was she asserting about his conduct? Was he striking her?
No, it was me. I just said that.
He was
She hesitated. Y'all saw that.
hitting you.
I don't think we need to go in the specifics of it. It was a physical altercation, and it was with me.
Like he was hitting you.
I just said twice. We don't have to get into
I don't need,
it.
but it was violence, is what you're saying.
Yes.
And
So if you have a 2-year-old that is happening to, would you want them in that unsafe situation?
look, I don't know the details of it. What I do know that is very common in custody disputes, and this is more so something that women do, is they will manufacture either claim that the male parent is either
Well, if there's
physically
doctors things showing and there's photos, then obviously not.
Maybe that's the
It
case.
is true. I do have friends that the man, he goes through custody battles all the time because his ex-wife is, saying things that happen to
I've
the
seen
kid.
it a million times as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot.
Look,
It doesn't mean that
we don't know.
all of them.
I never said that. I'm just saying it does happen.
Was he ever physically?
Ooh, you see her face over there? She is heated. It's like no one's validating how I'm explaining this story, even though I'm not giving full details because I don't want to get into it. But I'm like, girl, you can't get upset because they're trying to basically probe at the entire situation. They're probing you in the situation because they're trying to figure it out, but you're making this very difficult, so don't get upset. But yes, just by the way she's explaining things, it's so obvious that homeboy was a violent person before she was even born. Either that or she doesn't know and was told, because she said this happened when she was only but a toddler. So I don't know. It's not really adding up the way it should.
Violent towards your mom? Look, if you don't want to talk about it, I understand. It does seem uncharacteristic, though, for physical violence to be directed at a child, but not a spouse. I don't know the details. A lot of people in a custody dispute say things.
This was absolutely not a fabricated thing,
Okay.
if that's what you're trying to insinuate.
Well, there's
that
no
my
way for
mother
us to
did.
know, but yeah.
Well, I mean, there is a way for us to know because there's documentation and photographs and doctor's testimony. So
How do we know that mom wasn't the one? just saying. I'm just BSing at that point on that one.
absolutely, there is a way to know.
Okay. I mean, I'll take your word for it. Then your father was a sick individual if he was physically violent with a baby.
And if that is the case, if there is like actually stone cold evidence for it, then there should not be any custody.
Yeah,
So I don't know why.
Why would he want visitation?
I don't know why your mum would
I
even
would be
allow-
like, if my
That's why my mom had said that she wanted me to know he existed, but she didn't want it to be in a situation where I was ever alone with him, that I could have monitored
Was there-
visitations with an agency.
was there a police report?
Yeah, there's
Okay,
all
was
of
he
that.
was he arrested? Was there
I'm
a
done, though.
prosecution?
Yes, there was prosecution.
Okay, all right then.
It sounds like she's not telling the full truth. It's I don't know what it is, but it just sounds like she's not really being completely honest. She keeps avoiding the questions, avoiding herself from answering, and I don't know. I wouldn't have believed everything.
Okay, good talk. That got to abortion, child abuse. We're really hitting all the hot button issues, huh? We have a couple chats here that came in. I'm going to get to those. Apologies for the delays, guys, and I have to.
Noah donated $100.
Still more
Good
concerned
to
about
know women
ridding
are
themselves-
yet
ridding
still more
themselves of
concerned
babies
about
instead of
ridding
taking
themselves of
responsibility.
babies
Try
instead of
closing
taking
your legs, girls. Good to
responsibility.
have the whatever
Try
pod back
closing
Brian
your
traded.
legs, girls.
Noah, I
Good to
think
have the
I
whatever
appreciate
pod
it.
back,
Well, you guys
Brian.
all said,
Cheers,
you have
mates.
very negative opinions towards deadbeat dads. But I mean, if you were to ask a deadbeat dad, which is a spin on like a man whose circumstances might not be ideal
Can we say
financially.
what we mean by that though? Because when you
Like
say
deadbeat
deadbeat
dad?
dad, I tend to think somebody who is intentionally
Yeah.
not wanting to be in the child's life, not somebody who was pushed out by the mother or somebody who's just run on fallen on hard
Sure,
times
yeah.
financially, or somebody who just doesn't
Sure.
earn much.
No, and he does make a very solid point. It's really messed up to call any absent father to be a deadbeat dad. That isn't really fair. I don't like that being an umbrella term, because there's a lot of men out there that have made it 100% clear that they're not ready to be a dad, that they don't have any financial stability, that they don't have everything that is ready and available for a child. Let's be real. And yet they deal with the pressures of being forced to be a father, while when it comes down to women having an abortion, that option that they're given is highly encouraged. They're being told that it's a smart move, that, it's empowering and, yay for women. But if a man just basically said, hey, I don't want to be a dad. I don't want any children. I'm not ready for children. I'm not financially stable to have children. Yet you went ahead and, it takes two people to do what they did. But these are conversations that are so important that need to be made in order to make sure you know what you're up against and what you're about to deal with. But like I said, these are the issues that a lot of men and women go through, but it's always like, yes, we bear the burden of having the children. We have the option to choose whether or not we have the children, even without a man's say, without no opinion of the man that we have a child with. And that's the sad part, but that's the reality. And men they understand that and are not going to fight over that. But when it comes down to men, I think they should be given the option for financial abortion. If a man doesn't want a child, he shouldn't have to be pressured into being a dad. If a woman doesn't want a child, she shouldn't have to be forced to be a mom. What's wrong with that?
Well, I think defining our terms is important here. I mean, it's probably a bit of an umbrella term that could cover some of those things or all of those
I'm thinking
things.
one of those guys who's got like multiple like different sort of women that he's intentionally sort of like not being there for. Like, you know, you see this a lot in the black community with like the single mother rate
You're
and
gonna
stuff.
get canceled, bro.
Oh, it's true. It's a massive single mother. It's like
It is true though, but I think it does. I think Jake is right though. I think that label should only be towards the men that are intentionally impregnating women and just leaving them high and dry. That I will say, those are deadbeat fathers. Ones that intentionally have these babies and don't even bother to try and be responsible for them. Just saying.
75%.
But I don't think that women would intentionally push out a man so they could be a single mother. No,
Women Hold on, women push.
Girl, did you forget about how many women were doing that to pro athletes? They were breaking condoms just so they can try. They were punching holes and breaking condoms and even grabbing them from the trash just so they could try and have a baby by some pro athlete or rich guy or celebrity. Did you forget about that? They didn't care whether or not daddy was going to be around. They cared about that daddy money. That's what they want. Girl, did you? I think she forgot about that part.
Away
the
men
time.
all the time. Not
Yes,
even
but
with
like
children, just in relationships.
But I don't think that like they intentionally mean like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a single mom now. Yeah, like no one wants to be a single mom. No one wants to be a single mom.
If a woman has like a vindictive streak about her, and she sees a way to get back at the man, say he went and like was sleeping with a younger girl, for example, and she sees a way of getting back at him as not letting him see the child. That is a very realistic situation. Happens regularly.
Well, also incarceration is a big number in the black male, like in the black community. So a lot of the times, sometimes those men don't get a chance to be a father because, and then
I mean, yeah, but it all boils down to that 13% and 50%. I mean, it's just. I'm not going to get into that one.
a lot of the times it's a lot of injustice in those situations.
Well, the biggest problem that you guys have got is the welfare system, because since the welfare system came to be in the 1960s with Lyndon Baines Johnson, the single motherhood rate has gone from 25% to 75%, because they're actually incentivized to tell the government that they don't have a daddy in the home,
that you
so
don't
they can
have
get
a
more
man
money.
at home. Yeah, I agree with that too.
So on the whole deadbeat dad thing, though, it's just interesting to me because if the guy, let's say he doesn't want to be a father, he doesn't want that responsibility, he's not financially in a place where he can take care of the kid, like, all you guys say these guys are clowns, but like, are you prepared? The same statements that you made about deadbeat dads, will you say that about women who abort their child? Like, you have to make the same statement. Like, let's say these women, and most abortions are not ready, just not ready, don't want to go through the pregnancy, don't want to be a mom, not financially capable. That's like 99% of abortions. You have to make that same claim about the women who get the abortions.
Well, not really, because they don't have a kid that's here every day for the rest of their lives that they have to take care of a human that you're.
If Brian don't get that woman out of the studio, I swear something is just, why would she say something so damn stupid? Why is she? Okay.
Raising emotionally
Did you
and
say they
mentally
put the
and
kid out of
physically.
their misery?
Yeah.
What are you
That's
talking
crazy,
about?
I'm saying, like,
What the
with
hell?
someone not paying
It's an innocent child. It hasn't even taken its first
18
breath.
years of, like, misery.
What do you mean?
What, like, people come from bad situations and
This girl's special. And like, I don't mean it in a good way. Like, she's like, lights are on, but nobody's home in there. Okay. Yeah. No, something ain't right about her. Because even though if a mom is not able to get child support for those 18 years, that don't mean that there aren't other resources to helping her and that child. Why is this always so? There are so many resources we have to helping, and they refuse to acknowledge that it even exists. Instead, it's just always about the money aspect. Instead, it's always about how they don't get child support. So what are we supposed? Girl, go bye.
make something good of their life all the time.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's an absurd thing to say. They're putting them out of their misery.
I'm saying I wouldn't say the same thing about a mom aborting
Yeah.
because they're not putting their child through something horrible for 18 years.
I think women can.
So you think that it's better to kill the child instead of have them overcome the situation of having a not a two-parent home?
Personally, I wouldn't.
But like
But I
that's
think
kind of
they
what you
should have
just
the
said there. You
option,
said
yeah.
that they're putting them out of their misery.
I think that would be a not great reason to have an abortion, but if that's their choice, yeah.
Yeah. You got something?
Yeah, I think if you got pregnant, you would not let women decide what to do with your body. You'd be like, oh, hell, 9 months in my balls? You would never be talking about this.
Let me just
ever.
tell you this. If I had a baby in my balls, I'd take that thing to term and I'd spit it out my pee hole.
Yeah, right.
I would. And then,
W for Jake. I mean, that's visually horrific to think about, but at least he's being real about it. At least what he said. Oh my gosh, Jake, man. W for Jake.
Right.
you think that I'd kill the baby?
I mean, you wouldn't be pregnant for 9 months. You guys can't even get your periods. That's how fragile.
No,
Like,
we
it's-
actually don't get our periods. But what we do is
Oh,
we work
God,
all
you
of the
got
most
man
difficult
periods.
jobs in the world.
And
We
who set that
work all of the
system
most
up?
dangerous jobs in the world. We do
Who set that system up? Girl, look where you're sitting. You're sitting you're sitting your ass on the chair where there's a table inside a building with microphones in front of you, all built and made by men. And you're sitting here saying who built that system? Regardless of it, it doesn't matter who built the system. The whole point that he's trying to make is that men are more inclined to work the most hardest, dangerous, laborious jobs that us ladies won't even bother or dream about working. Sorry. Generally speaking, for the last 100 years, us ladies have been working the same freaking jobs, the same type of jobs. Customer service, retail, nursing, teachers, all of that. Girl,
all the dying in war.
And we appreciate it all the time. Yeah,
And
just
who
let us,
set that
just let
system
us
up that
control
you're
our
complaining
bodies.
about?
Thank you,
That's it.
thank you. You appreciate it,
Yeah,
but here you are saying that maybe we're not tough enough to. I think that if we can be ice road truckers and if we can go and die in the ditches in war, pretty sure we can have a few little mood swings from being pregnant and having our period. I think we'd be okay.
I think we need to Ryan, you need to get that one stimulator for the period cramps. Bring that on your podcast.
I mean, this whole pregnancy is the most painful thing ever. There's, kidney stones? Like women who have been pregnant and then women who have had kidney stones, from women themselves, report that the pain is just as, if not worse, than pregnancy. And men get kidney stones. My understanding is it's a little bit more painful for men than it is for women.
I'm not really gonna. I don't know. As a woman to have 2 children, I'm not gonna. I can't speak on that. I don't know what kidney stones feel like. Thank God I don't get them. Drink your water, people. Drink that cranberry juice, people. Make sure you stay hydrated, getting all the fluids you need to avoid this and to avoid, getting that. But I will say, if I really wanted to make a comparison of pain that I went through, I'd say a toothache. I've experienced a toothache, and man, oh man, that's the worst you can feel. Having to feel that all night versus being in labor was a different kind of pain. I guess it just all depends on a person's pain threshold. So I can't really speak on it. I don't know. But anyways, that's it for today's video. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So if you can, just leave a comment right down below and let me know what you think if you enjoyed the content. And please don't forget to hit that like button and share it, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Because if you do subscribe, that means you get more vids from me. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.